Hello, students. It's time to talk about Chapter 5, Beast from Water in Lord of the Flies. And I have some observations. First of all, this chapter starts with Ralph trying to articulate and finding that he doesn't have the words for the decay and the decadence of life, how things tend to break up, things tend to break down, things don't seem to build themselves up naturally, and that includes in society. And so he's feeling this disillusionment. He's feeling this despair because there was so much hope at the beginning of the book with the boys meeting and them coming up with rules and responsibilities and everything seemed good. And now everything's just kind of broken down. And they also had the lost hope of the ship that they saw on the horizon. So he starts the meeting with a list of commands and basically says, "You need to do what I say." And he has commands about things like the water, the huts, the bathrooms, the fire, the cooking, and then he brings up the fear last. And we, of course, that's what I'm going to talk about here. Number 3, he says they need to do something about the fear. So first we have Ralph's take of the fear, that it's basically not there and we need to just ignore it and pretend it's not there. Then we have Jack and Piggy's take on page 83. You're welcome to read it. Then we have the Little Uns' take from page 84 to 88. 5 pages of them really believing this stuff and giving details and giving descriptions. And so we as readers and of course the boys sitting in the dark are all going to start to get afraid. Like, is this a real thing? Like, what's going on here? Because they have real detailed descriptions of what they've seen and heard. But then we have the most interesting description on page 89. And that's from Simon, of course, the character who is unlike any other. And Simon, he says, "I don't know," said Simon. This is on page 89. Well, actually, at the top, he says, "Maybe," he said hesitantly, "maybe there is a beast." And then everyone's freaking out. Like, even Simon believes there's a beast, right? The little ones, like, they can dismiss them. But Simon, you can't dismiss him. Everyone knows he is legit. And it says, "You, Simon, you believe in this?" He says, "I don't know." And then they're all starting to interrupt him. And then he says this, "What I mean is, maybe it's only us." That's a big moment in this book where he says, maybe the problem isn't out there. Maybe we're the beast. Simon sees way beyond the other boys. And who is the one who speaks out of turn in this moment? I think this is significant. It's actually Piggy. Piggy, the one who holds on to the rules, cradles the conch shell. He yells out nuts. In other words, that is crazy. So there's something that even in the scientific realm, people don't think that there's this like evil that's coming from inside of us. It has to be out there somewhere. So we need to fix society. We need to fix the systems. It can't possibly be that inside of us is the problem. And of course, Golding is getting at, well, yeah, no, we're the problem. And we know that based on what he's said in our notes. So this is quite the moment. Then, after he does that and they dismiss him, of course, Jack rebels at the bottom of page 91. And right before he rebels, Ralph says, Jack says, Ralph says, "You're breaking the rules. Who cares?" Ralph summoned his wits, "Because the rules are the only thing we've got." And then Jack says, "Bullocks to your rules." And they just run off shouting and doing whatever they're doing. So that's a big moment, of course. Ralph does not re-blow the conch because he knows if he does, it shows that he's lost control. And he can't actually show that he's lost control, even though that's the reality and everyone knows it. There is this longing for adult intervention between Piggy and Ralph at the end of the chapter. And of course, because for Piggy, it's because he's actually afraid. And he says that to Ralph. And then at the very end, we have Percival having this nightmare. We're going back to the Little Uns and how these are real little kids that are freaking out on the island and they don't have adults and they're trying to do this adult society and it's all breaking down. Okay. What is the purpose of this chapter? Well, we're watching these two worlds collide, but now they're dividing. And for the first time, Jack steps away from Ralph. He goes away from Ralph somewhere else. And right now it's just onto the beach, but it'll be much farther as the story progresses. So we're seeing that happen. We are seeing this beast addressed. And of course, for Golding, this beast has something to do with human nature, but the boys see it as something that's out there. And then finally, Ralph losing control, and the laws and the morality are decaying. So the laws are decaying, morality's decaying, civilization's decaying. And we're watching that happen as Ralph loses control and Jack starts to assert himself even more. Finally, some questions to consider. Why does society break up? What do you think? It's an ethical question. It's a moral question. Why does society break up? You really should think about that at some point. And Golding's helping us to think about that, which is great. What happens when we break the laws without consequences? What happens to a society? That's a relevant question, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you realize it with our society right now. What happens when we break laws without consequences? And then finally, why do people have fear? What are they afraid of? And that's a big question to ask. Where does this fear come from? And so Golding's getting after that. So I hope this has been a helpful discussion as we've looked at, as an experienced reader, what I see in this chapter. But of course, you're seeing other things too. This is a community of reading and thinking. And so I really am excited to discuss it more together.